Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis from Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with the whiskey, and our whiskey business finds us in vacation mode. Our audio producer, Greg Hansberry, is somewhere in Michigan. Don't know, don't care. John Whitney, our video producer, is in the Himalayas. That's not true. I don't know where he's at. And me, I'm here with a couple of reminders while we're on a little vacation break. What we put together is something we call the best of. Here's my problem with the best of, okay? I enjoy best of shows, but there's always my favorite or my best one that seems to be missing from the compilation. So, in honoring that particular theory of best ofs, I'm sure that what we put together for you in this little compilation, there'll be something missing that maybe you've come across on Whiskey Business that say, oh, why didn't they put this one in? Or, oh, why didn't they put that one in? But we put together what we think is a nice cross-section of our Whiskey Business podcast that you might enjoy. And hopefully, if you do, you'll go and listen to some archived episodes as well in the process. So we hope you enjoy what we put together. 5 great little clips from Whiskey Business that are on our YouTube channel, I might add. And we hope that you enjoy that. I also want to remind you that speaking of Whiskey Business, the podcast, we will be introducing the premise on the upfront stage at Shadowbox Live on July the 18th, Thursday the 18th at 8 p.m. The premise will take 2 comedic performers with an unknown premise that they will get that evening. And they will have 20 minutes to come up with 5 minutes of stand-up material, which they will then perform in front of a live audience at Shadowbox Live. Tickets are available as we speak. There'll also be comedic guests, comedic performers, and of course everything you've come to love and expect from a Whiskey Business podcast. So that's Thursday, July 18th. The doors open at 7. The show starts promptly at 8 on the upfront stage. I don't know why I have trouble saying upfront stage and then anything that follows it at Shadowbox Live. Maybe it's because I'm drinking coffee. If I was drinking whiskey, things would be a lot better. Also, I want to remind you to come and celebrate the Columbus Podcast Awards on August the 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Gateway Film Center. The award show will highlight and celebrate some of your favorite podcasts right here in Central Ohio. It's a family-friendly event for the whole family. The tickets are free. All you have to do is go to ColumbusPodcastAwards.com and get yourself some tickets. And we would appreciate you coming out and supporting all the great podcasts that are here in Central Ohio and see if some of your favorite podcasts might walk home with the gold. Once again, that's August 25th at the Gateway Film Center. So, you got some information, you've got a lovely introduction with some clips, so enjoy. And if you're going on vacation, I hope it's not Michigan or the Himalayas. This first clip comes from a fairly recent podcast that was entitled, And Then There's Mom. I had the opportunity of doing a podcast with my 82-year-old mother, Christine Tripodis. I did not know what exactly to expect, and that's part of the charm of this particular podcast because Mom killed it. She was great from start to finish. So here's a little bit of how And Then There's Mom went on that particular evening. There is my lovely mother, Christine Tripodis. Hi, Ma.
Hi, Dino.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to Whiskey Business. This is what your son does now. Yeah.
Well,
after 24 years in radio, this is what
I don't understand how the world did you get into whiskey business?
Well, I didn't get into Whiskey Business. Whiskey Business is the name of the podcast.
Not the way I brought you up, Dino.
This is the way. This is what the podcast. How many minutes are we into this already?
7, maybe.
Seven, maybe with the intro.
Already cut out
and we're going to talk about nothing but whiskey.
No. We're going to talk about more than whiskey. Whiskey Business is a podcast, not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. The only running theme on this podcast is that I have a different bottle of whiskey each week, and I share it with my guest. You are my guest. I got this cheap bottle of Kessler's to make highballs because that's what you used to drink
whenever you would have a drink. What?
Do you know the last time I had a drink, a highball? Don't look at me like
tell
that.
me when. When was the last time you
Years
had it?
ago.
Years ago. I know you
Many
drink,
years ago.
I know you drink red wine now. You like red wine.
Well, off and on.
Off and on.
When I am.
And it's good for you.
I don't understand why you're into all this whiskey business.
I'm not into the whiskey business. It's the
Well,
name of the podcast. And if you're going to have a podcast called Whiskey
Okay.
Business, then you have to have the whiskey. That's why you see so many bottles around here.
Excuse
That's the only
me.
reason.
What?
You've had these many bottles of whiskey before you started this podcast.
Yeah.
She's calling
which,
your bluff.
Which just seemed like a good natural progression. I
Yeah,
might as well
as
do a
the years go
podcast,
by.
right?
Well, I'm surprised you
You
hadn't
know
done
what-
it before.
you realize that when we get done with this, it'll be listened to by dozens.
So they're going to buy your Kessler whiskey.
They're not. Well, actually, this was a gift. This was a gift on my
Like the other bottles?
like some of the other bottles. No, a lot of these bottles I have purchased, but some of these bottles have been gifts. Yes.
Man, I couldn't imagine the money he spent on that.
Yeah.
You claim this on your taxes. He probably can tell you
I can.
to the penny.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly how much I spent on whiskey last year. If you
Oh, I don't want to know.
No, you really don't. You
I
really
don't.
want to know.
I don't.
What I want to know as we sit here and talk. First of all, do you have any more questions about what we're doing tonight?
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Does it really? Yeah. Is it going to
Yeah,
be fun?
yeah,
Because
well-
I've always wanted the opportunity, and when you said you were coming up for Greek Easter,
Well, I was coming up for you, too.
well, yeah, I know.
Not just the podcast.
Not the podcast. No, my
Yeah,
My
your
birthday
birthday.
was on.
That's more important than the podcast.
My birthday was on Sunday, Easter Sunday, for everybody else on the 21st.
All right, get to the point.
I turned 60 years old. You're the one that said you came up for my birthday. I'm trying to explain to the people.
Well, you already did. They know that.
Now they do because I just told them. And you said I didn't come up just for Easter. I came up for your birthday.
Okay, continue.
All right. Why am I yelling?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Not the first time.
It isn't the first time.
Won't be the last
It won't
time.
be the last time.
Oh, that's for sure.
Okay.
While my mom may not have understood the entire concept of the Whiskey Business podcast, she did a great job being a guest. By all means, check out that entire podcast. You won't be sorry. All right. If you think you're a superstitious Buckeye fan when it comes to Buckeye football, you have got some work to do when it comes to comparing yourself to this guest coming up, Billy DeMora, who's been on our podcast 3 times. Because now he feels he has to be on our podcast because it's part of his superstitious nature in respects to the Buckeyes having a winning season. But in this particular clip, he talks about sex or not having sex before a big game. Yeah.
I don't need to go into all of the details. If you're a sports fan, you know what's going on, and you know the current state of Buckeye Nation. Well, what I want to know from Billy DeMora is how does something like this affect you, the superstitious fan, moving forward as the Buckeye football season begins?
Well, it doesn't affect me because I'm the Ohio State football team. I'm not any individual coach or individual player. My rituals are for the team and the outcome of the games. Now, the coach has a lot to do with the outcome of the games, but most it's the players, and so I'm there as the alumni, my superstitions don't worry about who the coach is. I mean, of course, when you have a bad coach like Darren Headlights we had back several years ago when you go 6-6, we actually won most of the home games that year, except for the ones that I brought a woman to. But
which is also one of those superstitions.
Yes, one of the superstitions.
You're going to have to go back and listen to the previous 2 Billy DeMora podcasts to truly appreciate this one, to see how fucking nuts he is.
Yes, I'm crazy. I admit that. I mean, the fact that I can't have sex the night before a game because it's bad luck. It's bad, and I can't sit next to my girlfriend can't sit next to me at a football game because it's bad luck. I mean, I understand it's crazy, but
I've never gotten over that one. Can't have sex before the game.
No.
And I said it in an earlier podcast. You're not a boxer. You don't have to worry
understand that,
you
but-
don't have to worry about your stamina and the knees. You're not Rocky.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's still every time I've had sex before a game, we lost,
Fine.
so I can't do it.
Fine. So I can actually say that, hey, what's Billy DeMora doing on a football set? Well, I know he's not having sex.
Nothing.
On a Friday night, that's
On a
probably
Friday
correct.
night,
Yes,
yeah.
because I'm usually, it's like I get up at 4 a.m, although my clock says at 7:11 when I get up at 4.
Yeah.
I having sex all night. I my game days are long days, especially when we have a night game. It's a long day when you get to the stadium by 5 in the morning, and the game's at 8 o'clock at night. It takes some stamina to do that. And if your stamina is gone from the night before of all night sex, you don't have the stamina to do what I need to do, and that would let down the team, so I can't do it.
So in that respect, you are like a boxer. You need your stamina.
I need my stamina.
You need your energy.
Yes, I need my energy.
Isn't that something worth trying when we're playing a
Yes,
patty cake
you're
team?
absolutely right.
Just to break the curse so you can...
He tried it. He tried it. Like I said, listen to the 2 previous podcasts with Billy. He did that. He did that.
Even with sex.
He gave in. He gave in. He had sex before. What game was it?
Oh, I forgot.
It was the Texas? Was it?
Yeah, it was Texas.
It's
Texas. It's Texas, and we
That's
lost.
a big game.
Well, we didn't know Texas was any good at the time. But yeah, I gave in and I had sex. I had sex all night with this woman, and we lost.
All night.
It was all
You
night. I had no
all
sleep.
night.
No sleep, Dino.
Of course.
That was
If you're
10 years
gonna-
ago. I was in my
if you're gonna-
40s.
If you're going to break the curse,
I
then
might
of
as well get the
course you
most
had
out of it.
sex all night
Absolutely,
long.
I did,
Of
yes.
course you did. Yeah.
Oh, there's only
I would
one-
hate to think that the Buckeyes lost because you put in a good 90 seconds.
Like the rest
Dino,
of us.
unlike you, I have stamina. That's why I can go all day tailgating. I have stamina to do what I need to do, okay? I'm sorry if you don't. I apologize on behalf of your
Oh,
girlfriend.
don't apologize to me.
No, I'm not apologizing on behalf of you and your girlfriend.
I'm good. I'm good. No, we're fine. I'm just speaking for the rest of the world all night long. We went all night long.
We did. Because she wouldn't let me
She wouldn't let
sleep.
you what?
She wouldn't let me sleep.
She wouldn't let you sleep.
No, so I had to, whatever. But that, like I said, it was a long time ago. I mean, I'm not going to say her name. I
don't want you
think
to.
she had a productive life. I think she's married with kids.
She thinks she's
So-
had a productive
Yeah,
life.
yeah, I think
She's
she-
married now with kids.
Yeah.
So you,
I didn't ruin her like I've ruined others.
what do you mean by that?
I mean, sometimes when not with me, your life is ruined. I don't know. I'm a curse.
You're not a curse.
Sometimes I
How
am.
can somebody so well? I mean, you know what? Maybe it does make sense. Somebody so superstitious think they're a curse. You don't think you're a curse or a blight on the Buckeyes?
No. That's why I keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay. So
Although I am announcing that
this
in
is
the
the
next
new, this
is
is
the
something
brand
new?
new announcement. I'm
This is a
saying
brand new
I have
superstition.
decided that
Hang on.
by the time I'm 55, which is I'll be 52 this season. So 3 seasons after this, if we have not won a national championship, I'm retiring. And if we win a national championship in the next 3 years, I'm retiring from all my superstitions. I want to win one more national
way,
championship.
you're retiring.
I'm retiring by 55.
Either way, either way.
But I want one more national championship. Now, if we don't get a national championship, maybe we're going to get one next year. I might have to postpone my retirement to get a national championship. But I want one more title, and then I'm giving it all up.
Okay, yeah, no way to completely and fully appreciate the insanity of Billy Demora unless you go back and watch that podcast and listen to the 2 previous ones prior to that. And Billy will be back for a 4th installment. All right, coming up, by George, that was a good podcast. My good friend George Kaliotis, who you may have seen on television, Superstore. He's a great comedian, improvisational comic, musician, and a math teacher. Go figure. You got to pay the bills somehow, right? But on this particular clip, we talk about getting back together as a group to do some improv, and also the importance of being an influencer in social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was part of Comedy Sports there for a
Nice.
minute, and it didn't really take off, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then I think it was, maybe a year or 2 years ago, I was a guest improver with Hashtag. And
Nice.
I had a blast.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
blast.
When it works, it's a
I
thing
mean,
of beauty,
yeah.
man. Even when it doesn't work, it's a thing of beauty.
And
If
it made me think, maybe, should I start doing improv? But,
you have to come play a geezer show with us.
a geezer show.
Joe Teeters, who I keep bringing up, he's like my improv
I understand.
mentor. He's like
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's the guy that I thought was going to get on the main stage in Cleveland instead of me. I truly thought it was going to be Joe because he's one of the most supportive, uninhibited,
Right.
joyful improvisers I've ever worked with. I mean, ever in my career. He organizes a show called the Geezers of Improv, where we get people that were doing improv. Tim Lucas,
Oh, my God, Tim
Bob
Lucas.
Goldstein.
Oh, my God.
Who else? Gage. Whoever's in town. Robert Holmes joined us a couple of times. Just people that were doing it when we first started doing it. And we just do a show, just a bunch of old dudes and gals that used to do improv in the 80s and 90s. And that's our hook. It's like we're these old people that
That's a
have
good
nothing
hook.
to prove. We're not. No, we know no one's
We're
going to end up.
seasoned. We know how to do this.
No one's going to be driving a Rolls Royce because of their mad improv skills. You know what I mean? And so we just know keeping the dream alive. We
Yeah,
just know that
keeping
dream
the
is
dream
dead.
alive.
We're here to eviscerate the dream.
We had Jeff Gage and Jake Anarino
There you go.
on when we were on an early podcast when we first started talking about improv comedy and some of the essentials that are needed. The trust and some of the skill sets that are some of the basic rules, if you will.
Yes, and.
In order to be successful in improv, don't negate, et cetera, et cetera. They were great guests, and Jeff Gage, who is still here in town, is you talk about the geezers. He's kind of like the old soul, the king, if you
Yeah,
will.
and he's still doing Improv Wars, right? He was running Improv Wars.
Yeah. I mean, and
yeah.
talk about a fast, brilliant mind.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Gage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
His Dennis Hopper impression to this day.
I'll talk to Jeff Gage for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I'll be laughing hysterically within those 5 minutes. He's just he still has that that gift.
Yeah.
Just in
So,
shooting back and forth.
Next time
conversation.
Joe puts together a geezer show, I'm going to call you and you can come play with us.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love to do that because I had such a good time with the hashtag people.
Yeah.
Of course, that was when I was a radio personality. I don't know if they'd want me to come back now as just another.
As a podcast,
Well,
now you're a
empire.
podcast.
As
Now you're-
my podcast empire.
Now you're an influencer.
Yeah. Tell that to my mother. Tell that to my mother. What are you doing, honey? What are you doing these days? Mother, I am an influencer.
I'm influenced.
I influence people.
Isn't that why you
What
can't
is-
go back to Pittsburgh?
What does that? You're an influencer. Does that come with benefits? Is there a hospitalization plan if you get sick?
Hello, Mr. Landlord. Your rent is coming. It's in influence.
Yeah.
George was great. We're going to have George back on the podcast as well and just have a discussion about math. No. Coming up, actor Kevin McClatchy of both stage, television, film. He's done it all. He keeps doing it all. He's also a professor at The Ohio State University for acting. We talked about how he got his start initially on the stage and then in our beloved daytime soap opera dramas. Here's a little bit of Kevin. So what's the first thing that you did in your opinion as a professional actor? Was it stage or was it
As a professional, and we'll call it professional, like getting paid
Yeah,
cash money.
sure.
So I did a lot of theater and sort of give it away for free with theater companies, which was fine with me because I had no idea what I was doing.
You were learning.
Yeah, I got on stage and did a lot of theater and made a lot of friends.
What was the first thing you did on stage in theater?
The very first
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
I was in a play and I was... First, I was the headlight of a car.
Yeah.
My whole family, you can imagine, my whole family goes, okay, Kevin quit his sports marketing job. He moved to New York, and now he's an actor. They come and see me, and I'm a headlight.
You're a headlight in
At
the
least
car.
you weren't a tree.
My brother Trip, my oldest brother Trip, he's like, dude, headlight?
Did you method that?
I did.
Did you method that role?
I crawled inside an abandoned Maserati, and I was like, how does this work?
How does this work?
I turn
It was
on,
a-
I
it was
turn
a
off. I
headlight
turn
and there were
on,
other
I
things,
turn
but
off.
the
Am I
headlight
different?
obviously
Am I
was the
different when they put the brights on and they go back to regular?
right.
Do I change?
Am I affected by the turn signal, or do I ignore that? Yeah. So
McClatchy shines.
but it was weird experimental theater, and I was just, I was thrilled. I didn't want to be anywhere else. But the first professional job was on Guiding Light in
There we go.
1993.
We're getting into the soap
Yeah.
operas,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
So Guiding Light was incredible. I had gotten, as you do, you take class, and then I started auditioning for stuff, and I got a manager and I got an agent. You just started making your way. Everybody's got their story of how they get that.
Sure.
And I went in and I read for a contract role at Guiding Light, and it was me and 4 Adonises, right? So it was 4 dudes that were just amazingly beautiful, and then there's pasty white Irish guy. And I was like, which one of these things is not like the other?
With pasty white
Yeah.
Irish guy.
So I gave the screen test, and it went great. And I was leaving, and the executive producer wonderful woman named Jill Farron Phelps. She said, "We'll be seeing you again." And I was like, yeah,
Okay.
pull this leg, it plays Jingle Bells, right? So
Right.
Like, what do you mean? And she was true to her word. I didn't get that role, but they wrote a role for me, and I came back 3 months later, and I had this memorable, vicious arc as a racist sexual predator.
Wow.
On Guiding Light. Yeah,
Okay.
that was kind of the start of it.
Kevin McClatchy is a great actor. He made for a wonderful podcast guest, but if you ever get a chance to see Kevin in anything that he does, be it stage, screen, film, television, do yourself a favor and watch. He's wonderful. Coming up, Jackie Zykin, who is a master taster for Old Forester. Yeah, we talked about, we were able to corral her for an afternoon and talk about what she does and how she does it. And also in this particular clip, how she might have been a little leery at first when she heard she was just coming to some guy's house to talk about whiskey. I don't know what the big deal was.
If they were to do a reboot of Sex in the City, do you think they'd be drinking bourbon or still be drinking vodka?
I don't know. Honestly, like, it has shifted. It probably would be bourbon or, whatever. I don't know. It's a weird concept. I get this a lot. Like, oh, we got this women in whiskey event. You should go do that. And I'm like, you go do it. Why can't you talk to women? Why you gotta send me? Because I'm a woman and now I have to go. Like, why can't we all just be people? Like, why has it got to be separated that way? Just go.
So someone always
know.
thought, it'll be better for a woman to go do the women in whiskey event
Right.
than a guy.
They connect
No.
with you more.
Yeah.
We'll learn how to talk to chicks. Get over it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's weird. I'm scared of it. They're not gonna, like, eat you alive. It's fine. It's weird. I don't know. We could go on all day on that
We
topic.
could,
100%
but
could.
let me just say, I
Yes.
want to thank Jeff who kind of put this together to get you over here today.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I'm sure that you probably went, we're going to someone's house to do what?
I did. That 100% is exactly what I
Yeah.
said.
Oh, I have no doubt.
We have a safe word. You don't know that, but we do have a safe word. It's pineapple. Pineapple safe word.
And I don't know.
She's got an entourage of 3 men in suits.
There's
I know.
3 other guys
There's
with
3
you.
dudes behind me.
I don't want you to become. Did you think you're going to be part of become
I
part of
go
a
where
Hannibal
I'm
Lecter
told.
novel
I
before it was
don't
all
know.
said and done?
Let's show her the
You know,
basement.
It puts the bourbon on its skin.
Studios
It puts
in
the
the
bourbon on its skin. No.
No, but
No.
it's been delightfully fun.
Surprisingly.
But smart on your part to be concerned.
You never know. Let me tell you. All of these events that we do are usually advertised publicly or they're pushed out on social media and what
Right.
have you. And especially in Kentucky, there are people that show up and they know what time you're going to be there. They know where you're going to be.
Where you are gonna be?
Exactly.
So you got bourbon
and
stalkers.
They know sometimes.
You got bourbon
it's
stalkers.
A thing. I don't know. I'm sure other people do. I'm sure there's people that stalk waitresses at Denny's. You know what I mean?
understand.
Like, that's out there. Like, whatever.
I understand.
Or
And it's-
waiters.
And we're going down
it
a whole
doesn't
different rabbit
judge.
hole here, but and I say this as blandly as possible. You're an attractive woman.
Thank you.
and
Hey.
you
YouTube.
understand, and you
Yes.
understand
Whiskey Business with
whiskey.
Dino
I mean,
Tripodis.
there's like a lot of things going. Yeah, it'd be easy for you to have a bourbon stalker. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm sure they're
I don't
out
know
there.
either. They're like, she has birthday bourbon.
She has birthday
Follow her
bourbon.
home.
It's more
know
about
it's at her house.
her
like-
stash.
Right. It's more about the stash of whiskey I have than it is me, more so than anything. But no, I mean, like, it's definitely something to always just be aware of. I mean, it's not just the whiskey
Sure.
industry; it's everywhere. But yeah, no, I did not purposely bring goons with me to protect me on the podcast. I hear them about, whoa, I'm not a
You know
goon.
what? If you did, I would totally respect that.
No, we are a
I was like
collaborative team.
I mean, I'm texting Jeff going, yeah, we do it at my house now. Like, and the only thing, I didn't put wink, wink in the text. No.
And finally, in what turned out to be one of our more compelling podcasts, my good friend Jerry Elliott from Torgan Elliott at QFM 96 joined us again for another great podcast. And we talked about something that, well, initially he was leery to discuss, but when he opened up about it huge. Jerry Elliott was kidnapped. His life was actually in danger. And he talked about that in length.
You were kidnapped.
I was.
Literally kidnapped.
Now, let me ask you this: when that went down, did you think it was a stunt?
No.
Working across the street at the other radio station.
No, and I'll tell you
'Cause,
why
this
I
was-
did.
John, how long have you been in Columbus? Do you remember when that went down? I mean, it was front page Metro section.
No, I'll tell you why I
the
didn't.
Case, the court, the trial was.
I'll tell you why I didn't think it was a stunt, because I still had to this day even, I still had the, whatever you want to call it, the PI gene in me. And
Oh, yeah, right,
So
right.
I did not think it was a stunt. I knew right from the get go this was the real deal. This is not. And maybe I was still new enough in radio where I wasn't aware of what would be a stunt. But when this came across and I heard about it, I'm like, no, this is the real deal.
I was carrying after that for probably 5 years. Until it just became such a burden, constantly having your gun with you. You know, it was just like,
what
It
happened?
was such a fucking burden.
What
My first marriage, they had a family-owned business, and they did. The old man's just brilliant. He was. They were from West Virginia, and they moved up here to Columbus. He did in the early '70s with the boom here. Columbus was, you could see it coming. University town. A lot of new construction, neighborhoods going in, and he opened a window and door, wood, not replacement, not vinyl, but wood, new home construction.
Sure.
And he was the only distributor from, I want to think, from 70, I don't know how many years he had it, but he was the only one. If you were building a new home and you wanted quality, it went through him. So he had every new build in the city for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And he killed it, just absolutely killed it. My first wife worked for her father in the shop off Bush Boulevard there, and they had, I don't know, but peak maybe, I don't know how many employees, but it was a nice company. And a guy worked for them over the years that the old man had plucked off the streets here in Columbus, down on his luck. Not a delinquent by any means, but he gave the kid a job, and he was part of the family more or less. And the kid got married and had kids, and I would go to a pool party at their house or at Christmas, and this guy would be there, and he would have. And I don't know what the relationship between the old man and this guy were as time went on, but I just knew him as an employee of the company. And I come home from work, like we do. It would be like 11:30 a.m.
Sure.
And so I was living in Dublin at the time off Sawmill Road, and I pulled into my driveway. Summer day, it was close to, it was like noon. And I pulled in my driveway, and I hit the garage door, and the garage door goes up, and I pull into the garage. And before I can get out, I see in my rearview mirror, Toyota 4Runner pulls up under the garage door and is almost touching my bumper in my garage.
All right.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So I open my door, I set my bag on the stoop, and I walk out, and I go, hey, and I see it's this guy. And he's got another guy with him. And he says, get in the car, motherfucker. And I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And he goes, I need you to make a phone call for me. That's all. It's all cool. I just need you to make a phone call. And,
But he starts with get in the car, motherfucker.
Yeah, now bells are going off,
Sure.
but it's broad daylight. I'm standing on my own front lawn, but it's middle of the day. There's nobody
around.
It's a weekday. There's nobody around. So I'm like, no, I think I'm good right here. I'm gonna. And then he's becoming insistent, and I'm trying to think. There's no way I'm gonna run. And then the guy on the passenger side gets out, comes around the back of the vehicle, lifts up. It was like something out of a Sopranos.
Yeah.
The sweatpants and the matching zippered
Sure.
silky jacket, and he pulls it up, and he's got a piece in his waistband. And I was like, are you fucking kidding? He goes, look, just get in the back, make the phone call, and there won't be any trouble. My issue,
My issue?
He says the issue. Your motherfucking father-in-law owes me motherfucking money because they had fired him. I forgot that.
Okay.
They had fired him like a month previous or some shit, and he was saying he was owed $150,000, right? And he wanted me to make the call to my father-in-law at the time. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to get any. And it goes on. And so when I see the gun, even though I'm at my house, I'm thinking, well, I'll make the call and they'll let me out. So I get in the 4Runner. Mistake number one.
Yeah.
Child locks on the doors, tinted windows. I cannot get out. I mean, they were ushering me, and it's not like I hopped in like we're going to the zoo. They usher. I'm in the back of the vehicle. They get in. They back out of my driveway, and now I'm going for a ride with these two clowns. And they kept me. I think I got home at like 7 that night, and it was not good.
What happened
was not good.
from the time they picked you up to the time you got home?
Well, we called. I tried to make the call that he wanted me to make, and we couldn't get a hold of the guy. We couldn't get a hold of my father-in-law. I couldn't get a hold of him. Leaving a message, hey, these guys got me. Well, we're not going to let you go until you get us our fucking money.
Until you get us our fucking money.
You got.
They put it on you.
Make the call. We're going to get the money. When we have the money, we will let you go.
Did you eventually get a hold
and
of
my
somebody?
one son, who was a preemie at the time, he was saying, and when we let you go, we'll fuck up your kids, especially that little, I mean, it was real personal.
They threw everything personal at you.
It was really personal. And
so what they said if you.
So I got very scared. We were on 161 and Sawmill right there, and I remember thinking, this is for real. And I started to get obviously I was pretty shook. And
understandably so.
We couldn't get him. We drove all around the city, and I'm making phone calls, and I couldn't get him on the phone.
They think you
take
were lying?
me up to
Did they think you were lying?
Polaris.
Did they think you were lying?
Well, they were dialing it, and I mean, you could hear the message go to voicemail, whatever. They take me north of the amphitheater, Old State Road, Powell, up there where the amphitheater used to be.
Yeah.
And we go up north of the amphitheater into this cornfield.
Okay, well, that's never a good
And
sign.
I thought that I was so.
We've seen Casino.
Yeah.
I was so afraid.
No, dude.
That I was no longer afraid.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I was so afraid, and I'd been with him a few hours. This was like 3:30, 4 o'clock now. That I'm pissed. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, and because I'm a radio guy, I like a nap in the afternoon. So I had to have a nap. I'm getting a little cranky.
I'm cutting into my nap.
A little cranky at this.
Let's forget about the kidnapping for a second. I'm sleepy.
When we went into the cornfield, I thought, well, I got nothing to lose now. So I'm starting to look around thinking, what can I do? Mm-hmm. And they pull into they turn around in this cornfield, and it's just corn on all three sides and the tracks that we made going in. And they're facing out. They stop, and he says, the guy in the passenger seat, his name was Art. And he said,
this is the guy with the piece.
He could sense that I was kind of being liberated because I thought I got nothing to lose. And he turned around and he said, motherfucker, I know exactly what you're thinking. I mean, like he was experienced at this or something. I don't know. But he nailed it. He goes, I can feel you don't. He goes, you can get out of this. You can walk away from this if you don't fuck it up.
This is the guy with the piece telling you this.
Yeah. And the other guy's like a
because right now
wreck.
I'm telling you, at that point, he does not want to kill you.
He's sweating. No. I don't think they want to murder me.
No.
But I didn't know that at the time.
But sometimes these things
go
south.
Or
but the fact that he said that.
And he was brought in from New York for this job, apparently.
Yeah.
So we make the call from the cornfield. And I get through. My father-in-law picks up.
Really, in the cornfield, you finally get a hold of him?
How
was the reception?
We get the... well, they wanted 100... it was 100 grand they wanted. And I could hear my father-in-law. All I could hear was the driver's description. And he's going, well, motherfucker, what do you mean? And he's, okay, 50. And so we went from 100 to 50. They settled on 15 grand, and I'm like,
15 or 50?
I took the phone from the guy, and I go, pay the fuck. He thought it was a joke. He didn't think. He goes, they're not going to hurt you. And I'm like, fuck you. I've been with him for 5 hours now, and 4.5 hours. Pay them whatever they fucking want, and they're dickering, and I can hear them. They're arguing over.
They're bartering.
Yeah,
Haggle.
over
Haggle.
Well, and I think the guy they settled on $15,000. And now I'm hurt.
Can
personally,
We'll cover
I'm
that.
a little hurt. I'm a little hurt at this point. You know, we started at 100.
On the 150
I'm on the
grand.
radio. Fuck. It's not 100, so what do you end up with?
I'm down to 15 grand.
I have 15. So they end up, they set up a drop with my father-in-law at the Continent.
Which was thriving at the time.
So we go over to the Continent, and the guy that had the gun, Art, takes me and he sits me on a park bench, and he's sitting there with me on this park bench. He goes, "If you try to run, I'll fucking put a bullet right in your back, and I'm out of here." He says, "I don't." So, and he was, you know, and so I stood there or I sat there rather. I sat there, and we sat on the bench while the other guy, the driver, the ex-employee, drove to the bank to meet my father-in-law. And my father-in-law at the time and while we're sitting on the bench, a lady comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I love your show." And I'm trying to play along. I got to throw that in there. So you have no idea. I wonder whatever became of her. I don't think she ever knew.
You tell the gun guy,
So-
she's a fan. Give me a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, the guy goes to the bank, and my father-in-law, the bank was closed.
Oh, my
Gave him
God.
a check. So the guy accepts the check. My ex-father-in-law goes home.
All right.
He comes back. He's in the parking lot. He tells Art, "We're good." I got it. Well, fuck. Success, you know. I don't think the guy holding me didn't know how much it was for. He runs back to the vehicle, and they're gone. I'm sitting on this bench. It's like 6 p.m. now, and I'm just...
By yourself. It's over.
And there you have it, gang. Just a small sampling of some of our favorite moments from recent podcasts on Whiskey Business. If you're new to Whiskey Business, thank you for tuning in. For those of you who have been with us from the get-go, thank you. You can find us, first of all, audio-wise, wherever you get your favorite podcast, and, of course, on iTunes. And video-wise, you can check all this fun stuff out on Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis on YouTube. But like I said, wherever you get your favorite podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, if you're there, we're there. So please check us out. Also, don't forget to join us as we have fun with our live Whiskey Business podcast, The Premise, July 18th. On the upfront stage at Shadowbox Live, starting at 8 p.m. Tickets are available. So we hope to see a bunch of you there as well. And so, as we always say on Whiskey Business, until the next bottle, see ya.